Welcome to episode 2 of Making Distance Learning Work, Storm Drains, Windows to the World. To make distance learning deeper, let's start where we are, at home or in class, with place-based learning. I'm Camille Mortimer, and we're going to start at my house in Wisconsin, and we're going to travel to the Atlantic Ocean. I'll start with something that I'm passionate about. That's where you should start. Mine's geography, and in particular, land and water resources. So my house sits on a subcontinental divide, and it connects me to the world. And that connection is really important about how we're going to protect our resources. So here are the questions. What is a subcontinental divide, and how does storm drains actually function as windows of the world? Here are the standards, and we're going to focus deeply on models of systems and the skills, systems thinking in particular with mind maps. We're going to do research in my neighborhood, right out my door and on the internet. And then we're going to make the connections between my place and the world. And students then are going to produce evidence to connect with others about this important topic. Things they'll be looking to do would be things like a public service poster or video, a watershed map that they're going to annotate, book for younger kids and teach them about storm drains, or some particular piece of creativity that shows this content, or something they get approved by their teacher. So I've taken this big idea for a project, and I have entered it into Forge. Here are the driving questions and the resources and the final products that students are going to work on. All the standards and skills are right here. So let's get started with what's a subcontinental divide. My house sits on top of a hill, and when it rains, all the water on one side flows to Lake Michigan and then the Atlantic Ocean. And all the water on the other side flows to the Mississippi River and the Gulf of Mexico. So on a map, it looks like this. The long red line is the Rocky Mountains. My house sits over here on a smaller divide of the Great Lakes Basin. So again, it looks like this. When it rains, all the water flowing from my house on the east goes into Lake Michigan and through the Great Lakes system to the Atlantic. And on the other side, to the west, flows through the Mississippi River Basin to the Gulf of Mexico. So here's the place. This is the real spot, right there on the subcontinental divide. And my house is right near here. It's just a couple doors down from the top of the hill. And all the water on one side flows to the Atlantic. All the water on the other side flows to the Gulf of Mexico, even though I'm a long way away from either of those places. Let's look at it. When it rains, the water flows down the hill and into the drains. A lot of water sometimes. And then down behind my house under the storm sewer and into a gully or a little creek that's formed and out the back into the lake. The water needs to leave the lake, and so it enters Test Corners Creek. And Test Corners Creek flows into the Root River, which flows into Lake Michigan and the Great Lakes system on its way to the Atlantic. Let's keep looking. So partway on that journey, it has the option to go through the Welland Canal for shipping or Niagara Falls. And beyond that, the end of Lake Ontario joins the water into the St. Lawrence River and to the Atlantic Ocean, all of the ocean from my drain. So we shouldn't dump. So let's look at what's at the heart of this with a mind map. Storm drains to the world. These storm drains have the option of having just water go down them or all sorts of pollution. And who's going to take responsibility? We're going to study watersheds and continental divides. We're going to do an investigation in my neighborhood and then use other resources. And we're going to connect that to the big idea of systems and how local becomes global. And how does it matter to me and my future, my quality of life, our planet? And then what am I going to do about that? So, no dumping, because it actually connects to the world. So we're going to use mind maps. You might want to check out Kid Engage. And yep, this is the project. And there are projects that come from this project, lots of them. And so let's take a look at some of those. What happens downstream from us? What about those dams in Michigan that broke, right, really recently and dumped toxic chemicals into Lake Huron? Real trouble. Or what about the companies that pollute? Who should clean up the mess? This is the mess around the Great Lakes. Or should we share the water? What about the people who don't live on the Great Lakes but are nearby? Or what about your house? What happens to the water in your house, your building, your neighborhood? Or what about the Great Lakes and ocean ships that come in? How does stuff get to our cities? It's uphill. Or this, how does water inspire art or poetry? Paddle to the Sea, a wonderful book about an Indian boy on Lake Nipigon, near Lake Superior, who puts a little canoe in the water and it gets to the Atlantic Ocean. Take your kids on this journey. Be inspired. Projects are inspirational. What's special in your place? Thanks for being here. Join us for What's the Buzz About Bees? Our next episode.